I find myself in a very difficult situation. As you may or may not be able to tell by my voice, I've recently been getting over illness, and it is one such that I think it is some form of infection in the lungs caused by a recent change in the way that I have been asked to work. There is a portion of the work that is meant to be designated for a different entity entirely at my workplace, but they do not do it, and the boss that is over me has deemed me a appropriate functioner of the job, and I believe it is what is making my body act the way it is right now. And I am the only person who is willing to do said job. It has been made an optional choice for many others, and I find myself in a very delicate position where I don't necessarily wish to refuse, but also I don't want to do it either, for I wish to recover from this illness that seems to be taking over, and I do not believe that putting oneself closer to the original course or cause would make it so that you could heal. It has been a tried and true idiom, as it were, that you cannot heal in the same place that you got sick and or damaged in the first place. But they are being pressured by their boss to get the thing done, and I'm the only person who actually responds and does things correctly, I suppose. It is tiresome, to say the least, to be the person that is relied upon to fix situations that are not my concern to begin with, and have in fact caused other people to complain to the union in the past. And I am, I suppose you could say, naive, or perhaps I find it difficult to tell anyone no when they are in a position of superiority. It has only been until recently, or rather, it has only started recently happening, that I have been able to start saying no. And I have recently, or as recently as they have been informing me of such, that this is more or less a endless problem that will not go away, because it is something that is meant to be done by other people. It's meant to be a multi-person job, and yet I'm being labeled and struggling with it by myself. I don't really know how to feel about all of this, as it is something I have in the past been responsible for taking care of similar daunting tasks. There have been things that were seemingly endless, but actually had a logical conclusion. In this situation, this is a job that does not end, for it's the post office. The post office is a job that does not end. We will never run out of these pieces of paper, as it were, that are being sent from position A to position B at any given point through robotic faceless entities. And yet we find ourselves largely ignoring and throwing out these hours, days, weeks, months, years of effort, and the highest case of mortality after suicide that follows these people is cancer, as you may or may not have been able to discern It is it's quite easy to have your immunities become lowered after working at this place for so long, being exposed over and over again to the radiation of the sun, to the harsh chemicals in the paper, to the dust in the air, the asbestos, as it were, as well, the lingering suffering of others. And people wonder how and why such situations are to occur. Why, in fact, would a person go crazy in such a situation? Because this is one of the higher paying jobs with a very low barrier for entry and one of the highest turnover rates for their own people, whether it be from quitting or being fired for something incredibly simple. And yet I've been here for 9 months. Technically 10 on the day today. And I find myself every day wondering when it will end and how it will end. And if the current situation is anything to go by, it will end when I am dead. And the situation will then continue on into somebody else's hands. Somebody else who is willing enough to pour their life energy into a vessel that does not care for the contents. The energy applied to the situation, it is an endless gaping void, constantly hungering for more sacrifice. And we find ourselves pushed up against this wall, unable to do much, and yet asked to do everything in our power. Asked to do seemingly nothing to the people who are in the position above ours, and asked to give everything that we have, every moment, every breath, every drop of blood. The time that we are allotted is only what we are willing to fight for. And even now, the times that I had finally gotten for myself, after fighting tooth and nail for months, finally I get time to myself. Finally I get the opportunity to further myself outside of them. And they want to cut into that as well. They want me to come in on the only days that I've had off. And they would like me to continue doing this ad nauseum until this problem, that was never my problem to begin with, is seen to its logical conclusion. However, since this is a problem that will continue to exist so long as the other jobs exist, this is something that causes people to go insane. Fighting against a cause that does not end. Fighting a war that spans an entire lifetime, nay, multiple lifetimes. 100 years war that has been being waged every single day, one day at a time, moment to moment. Every single piece of paper piling up, becoming mountains. Mountains that I am being asked to move alone because of a problem that is not mine to begin with. And yet I am finding myself claiming these issues as my own. Why? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep fighting for a cause that I don't believe in? Perhaps because I feel it is owed to them.